Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please welcome to the CubeCast, the premiere screening. I'm your host for today. My name is Zahid. I'm joined by the wonderful Simon Jones, aka Brother Ismaeel. We're going to talk about his reversion to Islam, the struggle he faced, and something that I've been really looking forward to hear from Simon Jones, Brother Ismaeel, is his journey in tracing back his ancestry. So, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Simon.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Do you prefer to be called Simon or Ismaeel?
Ismaeel, you can call me
Ismaeel.
Ismaeel.
So, how does it feel to be the very first guest on our brand new show?
I feel quite honoured actually. I'm quite surprised that you chose me. But I am very honoured that you have. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
MashaAllah, you shouldn't be honoured. We're the ones who are honoured to have you, alhamdulillah. So tell us a little bit about yourself as an individual, your hobbies, your personal interests, your blood type, etc.
Oh, where do
I
I
practiced
begin?
that joke before we came.
Where do we begin? In terms of hobbies, I like to read. I love to read from a very early age. I've always liked reading books. I also like to do martial arts. So there's a martial art called Wing Chun, which I've been doing for many, many years now. I used to play football a lot, but as I've started to get older, I tend to get quite a few aches and pains. So I've kind of eased off that a little bit.
Yeah, at the age of 25, you shouldn't be having
I wish.
Alhamdulillah. No, I've known you for many years as an individual, but I didn't actually know about your story of how you came to Islam until I spoke to you. So I learned so much from speaking to you on the phone, and I just thought to myself that your story, we had to have you first.
Okay.
It was such a story, and I was speaking to Brother Case as well, and the story was amazing. I thought, you know what, Brother Ismaeel has to be our first guest. So in terms of your story, I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to give the floor to you, inshallah.
Well, to understand my story, I have to go right back to the beginning. So I'm one of 5 children. My dad came to this country in 1955, and a lot of Afro-Caribbean families, they're very, they love the church. They're very much into the church. But my dad wasn't. He's always believed in a creator, but he never really followed the Christian traditions like a lot of Afro-Caribbean families you'll find have. And I remember asking my dad about this, and he said he felt that he'd been lied to by the church. And I said, what do you mean? So when he was growing up in the Caribbean, he was told, go to England, this is your motherland. So what used to happen in the Caribbean quite a lot is the national anthem would be played in the school, pictures of the Queen would actually be in the school as well. And they were told that you are British, this is England, your country. Go to England and kind of help rebuild the motherland. So that's exactly what my dad did. He went to England, like many people. In fact, some people sold their houses, they sold land, they sold quite a lot of things just to come to the motherland. And when they got there, as you can imagine, it wasn't exactly what they were told.
They were sold a dream that wasn't
They
true.
were sold a dream. And for my dad, he was sold a dream by the church. He was told, go, go, go. And he got here and he was like, wow, this is nothing like what you said. In fact, he wanted to come straight back. But like a lot of people, because he'd spent a lot of money to get to England, it was now difficult to then just come straight back. So for me growing up, I never went to church or anything like that. But my dad did tell me that there is a creator. So I've always had this belief in a creator. But my journey to Islam started when I was in secondary school. And it was the first day of secondary school. And I can still remember it clearly to this day. My brother, who's 3 years older than me, he had a friend. And his friend had a brother that was also starting school same time as me.
Okay.
So them two got together and conspired and said, you know what, let's get our brothers to meet up on that first day, and then at least they're gonna have
bit of a broad date.
Yeah. They're gonna have a bit of a friendship. So I remember we met up, really nice brother. We got talking straight away, got on straight away, and I remember sitting on this. It was a grass banking. We sat down. And we were talking, just general talk, and he offered me a sweet. Now it was a fruit polo that he gave me, and of course I accepted. I like sweets. I also had some sweets, but I had mint polos. So I offered him a mint polo, and he refused, and I was really puzzled. I said, I've taken one of your sweets. Why don't you have one of mine? Now, what I didn't know back then, mint polos had gelatin in.
Oh.
And obviously, as a Muslim, which he was, forgot to mention that bit, he was Muslim. he couldn't eat that sweet. And he said to me, I can't eat it because it's got gelatin in. So I was like, well, what's gelatin? Because I'd never even heard of gelatin. And why can't you eat gelatin? So he then explained what gelatin was, and then he said, it's because I'm a Muslim, and Muslims, we don't eat, we're not allowed to eat gelatin. So I then said, well, Muslim, what is a Muslim? What do Muslims believe? Because I'd never heard of, Islam before. And I was just really curious to know, what is it? So he started telling me, Muslims would believe in, Moses and Noah and Abraham. And I said, hang on a minute. You're talking about Christianity. And he said, no, this is what Muslims believe. And I was like, really? And he said, yeah. And I said, have you got any information or any books that I can read? Because remember, I used to, even to this day, I still do, I used to love to read.
This is the first year of school.
Yeah. I mean, I was born in 1974. Growing up, I didn't have all the PlayStation and other gadgets that are out there. So to occupy a lot of my time, I used to love to read. So I said to this friend of mine, please, can you, this is the first day of school, please, can you get me some books on Islam so I can read it? Because I was just curious to understand what it was. So he used to bring me books and I'd read them like this. And I was fascinated with what I learned and what I was reading in these books. Really fascinated. And all through the school year, right up until I left, I was, got a really deeper understanding of what Islam was. And I could see it was starting to kind of affect me and kind of change me. And I remember as soon as we left school, because he lived on one side of Sheffield and I lived on the other, our contact just disappeared. And back then, it was very rare to find somebody with a mobile phone. So we never, or social media didn't even exist. Yeah. So it was a lot harder to keep in contact with people anyway. So at that point, because I lost the contact, I think my life kind of went a different path. I moved out of Sheffield for a while. And yeah, a few years later, I got to a point where I came back to Sheffield and I think I'd matured quite a lot as well. But I wasn't working, I wasn't doing anything. And I started to say to myself, well, what is the purpose of life? Well, why am I here? There's got to be more to life than just, what everyone else is doing. And I always used to feel that I was a bit strange because a lot of my friends were into things like football, like crazy. They'd follow a team and they'd be really into it. Or I'd have other friends that might be into music and they loved their music. And I could never find anything that I was into.
You didn't fit the social norm.
No, but I felt like I needed to be into something. And it's like I was searching to be in some, but I didn't know what it was at that time. So I was back in Sheffield and I started to think about school. Started to think about the guy who told me about Islam and the books that I read. And I said to myself, I need to look into this properly. But I'm going to look into more religions. I'm not just going to focus on Islam. Yeah, because I don't know a lot about, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism. There's a lot of other faiths out there that I don't really know about. So let me look into all of them.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Do a fair representation.
Yeah. And like I said, I'll say it again, I used to love reading. And I just chomped through books, just read. And it always came back to Islam.
Inshallah.
Whatever I read, I don't know, it was like something was just tugging me back to Islam. And it got to a point where I researched Islam, like really deeply for probably a couple of years. And I was convinced that this is the truth.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, and I'm the type of person, if you said to me, I can fly, I'm like, prove it. I need some kind of proof and evidence.
You're a rational person.
Yeah, I don't like to just just believe in it because somebody said. I did a lot of deep, research and looking into it and asking questions. And yeah, I got to that point where I was convinced that this is 100% the truth. And when that happened, I got really scared. And the reason I got scared is because I now know that this is the truth. And I can lie to you, and I can lie to other people, but you can't lie to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you can't lie to yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah? So I got scared and I thought, I have to become Muslim. Yeah? And I'm thinking, my life's going to change, what my family going to say. And I forgot to mention, my mum died when I was 4, so my dad brought 5 of us up on his own.
MashaAllah, you gotta praise your dad.
Yeah. So there was my dad, and I've got 4 other siblings. But while I was doing this journey, whenever I found any information, I'd always share it. I couldn't keep it to myself, so I'd be telling my sisters, my brothers, I'd be telling my dad about it. Oh, look, I've read this book and this is what it says. And my younger sister, she was very interested in a lot of the things that were said, and she was also kind of taking this similar journey to myself. So yeah, I got to the point where I knew this is it. I've got to become a Muslim, but I was scared, but I knew I had to do it anyway.
Absolutely.
So what happened? I went to a friend, and I said to them, look, I want to become Muslim. And this friend was a Muslim, by the way.
So okay.
Yeah, Muslim by name. Yeah, they were Muslim. So I said, look,
obvious choice to go to your friend.
Yeah, go to my friend who's Muslim, who I thought, they're practicing Muslim, got a Muslim name. And I said, I want to become Muslim. Yeah. And the response I got was it surprised me. Yeah. And the response was, what do you want to do that for?
It's a shame. I've heard this story many times over. Someone's interested in Islam, they go to a non-Muslim friend.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be that encouraging.
Yeah. But this was somebody who I thought, well, they're Muslim, the Muslim name, they've got Muslim family, and, they should be really happy for me. Then somebody else said, Islam's got nothing to do with you. So I was like, and these are people who I know as well. Mm. So there was another friend that I had, and I said to him, look, I want to become Muslim, and all I need you to do is take me to the mosque and leave me there, and I'll do everything else. Yeah? But I would have gone myself, but I didn't know where any of the mosques were. So this was about 1995, 96 time. And today we have a lot of mosques that are purpose built, so you can see and tell, oh, look, there's a mosque. But back then, a lot of the masjids, you couldn't tell because they're just in somebody's house, or they look like a house from the outside. So I had no idea where any of the mosques were. And I said to my friend, look, will you take me? And he said, yeah, I'll take you to the mosque. I thought, okay, great, this is it. So I remember waking up quite excited. I went to his house, and he lived on the other side of Sheffield. And back then, I wasn't working, and I didn't have a car or anything like that. And I like to walk anyway, but I decided to walk to his house. And it was quite a distance as well. So I decided to walk to his house. And he was expecting me. And I got to the house, and I knocked on the door, and his mum opened the door, and I said, look, where's your son? She knew me anyway. I said, where's your son? And she said, oh, he's gone out. I said, but he said he was gonna. She goes, oh, no, sorry, he's gone out. So I thought, okay, no problem. So I walked all the way back home.
Took a good 3-mile walk.
But longer, I'd say probably a bit longer. The thing is, as well, back then, like I mentioned, I didn't have no mobile phone or anything, so it was either payphone or landline. So I remember ringing him that night. I said, where were you? You're supposed to be taking me to the mosque. Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Really, really sorry. It just completely, went out of my mind. Let's do it tomorrow. I thought, no problem. Tomorrow's fine. We all make mistakes, we all forget things at times. And so I did the same thing again. So I walked to his house, gets there, knocks on the door, expecting him to be in the house. He's not in. Right? So I came back home, rang him again. Oh, I'm really, really sorry. Promise tomorrow I will be there. So this is the 3rd time now. 3rd time, I get there. Same thing, he's not in. So I come home and I think, do you know what? There's no point. I'm not even gonna ring him because 3 times he's not gonna help me. And I think at that point I got a little bit down and I was thinking, how am I gonna do this? I want to become Muslim, and if my own friends won't help me, how am I gonna do it? And it actually crossed my mind at that time that maybe I should just go to like a random person on the street and just stop them. Someone who looks like a Muslim and just say, look, I want to become Muslim. And someone inside said, no, don't. Because if your own friends, if they don't help you, then how are you going to get any help from a stranger? So that kind of put me off. Anyway, there was like it was like a light bulb moment. That's the best way I can describe it. That kind of went off in my head. And I said to myself, I'm silly. Because if I believe truly in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I know Allah could do anything, why am I not asking Allah to help me become Muslim? And I thought, yeah, that's what I need to do. Now, at the time, all I knew about prayer is that you have to wash before you pray. And I knew Muslims put their head on the floor, but I didn't know any more than that. And I didn't understand about, dua and all these different things. But I said to myself, I need to pray to Allah. But I'm going to wash myself first, and I'm going to prostrate, and I'm going to ask Allah. And that's what I did. So this one evening, went home, washed, prostrated, put my head on the floor, and I begged Allah. I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I know that this deen, this religion is the truth, and I want to become Muslim. Please help me become Muslim. Yeah, and this is in my bedroom, door closed, alone in my house. Now, as soon as I finished doing that, my sister came home, walked into the house, and she came upstairs and she called me, and I just finished my prayer, and she said, there's a guy that's going to call you today and he's going to help you become Muslim. So I'm thinking, what is she talking about? This isn't true. And she tells me this story. So she went to a fast food chicken shop to get some food. Yeah,
as you do.
Yeah, quite a famous one in Sheffield as well. So she went into this chicken shop to get some food, and when she was in there, on the counter there was some little booklets, Understanding Islam. Yeah, booklets. And she picked one up and she's reading it, and the man behind the counter, his name is Brother Mustafa. He's very famous in Sheffield. He's also known as a perfume doctor. So most people, if you're from Sheffield, will know him. So he was working behind the counter. He used to work at this fast food place. And he said to my sister, are you interested in Islam? Because obviously he saw her reading this booklet and he was thinking, are you interested? And she said, yes, me and my brother were very interested. And in fact, we want to become Muslim, but we don't know how to. And he said, give me your brother's number and I'll ring him. So she gave the house number, and then she came home and she told me the story. So I'm thinking, nah, this can't be right. This can't be right. The phone starts ringing.
SubhanAllah.
Right? Picked up the phone. I speak to, like I said, his name was Mustafa. I speak to Mustafa on the phone. And he starts asking me questions. He starts saying, why do you want to become Muslim? And, what led you to this decision? He wanted to understand and check that I understood what it was.
You're not making rash decisions.
Yeah, what it was that I was doing. And he was comfortable with my answers. And he said, look, tomorrow, let's meet up. And I'm going to take you to take your Shahada. And then that's exactly what happened. Me and my sister, we went, met him the next day, and took our Shahada. Yeah.
I'm just such a story, because this is the second time I'm hearing this story, and when I was thinking about this story, what led you to Islam was someone offering you a fruit polo.
You're right.
Alright, and I don't know if there's that famous nasheed, small deeds never overlook. But in this case, one simple Muslim offering you a fruit polo led you on your journey to become a Muslim.
Yeah.
So I think that's just an example, a lesson to everybody about how important it is that we should never look down upon small deeds. The Prophet ﷺ said that the small deeds which are done constantly are the most beloved.
Yeah.
So inshallah, that your story just inspires us in terms of how to become Muslim. And the steadfastness, you had to go to someone's house 3 times,
Yeah.
and still they didn't turn up. What were you thinking about at that point?
Do you know what it was? I mean, that was pretty easy. Even when people said negative things to me, because I knew it was the truth. And I thought, well, it doesn't matter what you say, because I know this is the truth. I have to become Muslim. So I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I'm not going to stop until it happens. So, yeah, in terms of steadfastness, it's just having that belief. That just kept on driving me forward.
Well, join us after the break, and we've got another impressive story by Brother Ismaeel, not only finding about the true religion, but also finding some shocking facts about your ancestry as well. So inshallah, we'll come back. The only thing is we're both drinking water right now.
It's alright, it's cool.
Welcome back to the next part of our podcast. We were talking to Brother Ismaeel about how he became a Muslim. You mentioned that your sister became Muslim. So tell us a little bit more about your family.
Okay, so my sister, she became Muslim the same time as me.
MashaAllah.
The next person was my brother. Now, I was so excited. Yeah, when I first became Muslim, in fact, I remember that very first day, and the only way I can describe it is, it felt, and this is as soon as after I've taken my Shahada, it felt like I was looking at the world for the first time. I can't even describe it properly, but it felt like my eyes had been opened for the very, very first time. And when I went outside the mosque, the masjid, and I was looking around, everything just seemed different, even though obviously it was the same.
Everything seemed a bit brighter.
I can't even describe it.
To be honest, the only thing I can possibly relate to that is when I did itikaf in the masjid in Ramadan.
Right.
And after 10 days, you walked out of the masjid and everything just hit you.
Yeah.
Like a billboard hit you and you're like, where am I?
I felt conscious of everything around me. Really, really conscious of everything around me. And because I was still new and I was still learning, and I'm the type of person, if I learn something new, I have to tell other people. And naturally, you tell the people that are closest to you, which for me, obviously, was my family. So I was always still talking to my family about Islam. My dad was very happy, actually. He surprised me a little bit, but he was really happy because he said, you know, our ancestors were probably Muslim anyway. And he was also happy because he noticed that there started to become more structure in my life. I started to be a bit more focused in terms of the things that I wanted to do.
Maybe with work.
And he noticed that, and he said, look, this is really good. It's really positive. It's having a positive impact on you. So he was very happy that I was
even from a Muslim perspective. Like, for example, my own family members, I remember there's an individual who was, call it off the rails slightly, and then he started practicing Islam. And he's not from a generally practicing family per se, but so when he started practicing Islam, he started praying, he started getting a job, he started working more frequently, was leaving the bad company behind. So I can understand why a parent would be happy, because suddenly their child's going towards the right direction in terms of dunya and akhirah.
We know, you know, from Islam, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it to the best of your ability. This is what our Prophet Muhammad teaches us. It teaches you to become a better person in your life. So he was seeing all this, and so he was happy. I was talking to all my brothers, all my eldest sister as well, and it's like they believed it and they listened to what I was saying, but they didn't take the step.
Okay.
Until
mashallah, this seems like one of those stories.
Until let me just take a quick drink. It was 9/11, when obviously the unfortunate incident that happened there, and I think it was 2 days after was the Jummah, was the Friday prayer, and I was getting ready to go to the masjid, and I remember my brother just turned up, and he looked like he was deep in thought, but a lot of people during that time was, because obviously 9/11 had just happened and it was all over the news, but he looked like he was really deep in thought, but I didn't think too much of it. But I'm getting ready for the masjid, and my brother, and he's this is the brother he's 3 years older than me.
Oh, the same one
Yeah.
from the school days.
Yeah, the same one, the same one, yeah. So he says to me what I thought was a really strange question, which was, what do you have to do to become a Muslim? Now the reason why I found it was strange, because I told him so many times, because I was giving dawah to my family and telling them about Islam constantly.
And asking me this now.
Exactly, I'm thinking, and I'm just about to leave. Like literally, I got ready and I was just about to leave, and he's asking me this question. So I said, you know, you have to believe that there's no God but Allah, and that, you know, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is his messenger, and you have to believe in all the messengers and the angels and the books, you know, stuff I've told you already. And he kind of nodded and he was deep in thought. I still didn't think anything of it. Anyway, I'm just about to leave the house, and he said, wait, can I come with you? So I was like, why? And he said, oh, because I want to become Muslim.
MashaAllah.
I was like, oh yeah, of course.
This is like a good, your story is very upbeat and positive. MashaAllah, everyone becomes a Muslim.
It was obviously it's quite emotional. It was quite emotional because on that day, obviously Jummah is busy, packed out. When I took my shahada, there was only a few people there. It was packed out, and they made the announcement. So after Jummah, obviously everyone could see my brother was standing at the front, and he took his shahada, and everyone was coming and hugging him, and so I was quite emotional.
You were known at that time in terms of
people knew me, yeah.
Okay. MashaAllah.
So he took his shahada then. My dad, same. He's always believed, but it's just that step.
Yeah.
He needed that push. And I remember I went to visit the same brother Mustafa, who I met in the chicken shop. Well, my sister met in the chicken shop, and he took us to the mosque. I think I'd met, and he invited me to his house, and we went to his house. I was with my dad. He was all come to my house, and we went and we sat down and we had tea. And he was talking to my dad about Islam. And my dad said, I do believe, you know, I do believe in all of this. He said, well, if you do believe, why don't you take shahada? So my dad goes, yeah, okay, I want to take my shahada.
MashaAllah.
And then he took his shahada, and that was even more emotional. Because obviously my daddy brought us up from when I was obviously a baby, and he did so much for me. So even more so, it was a very emotional time. But yeah, so that's how my dad became Muslim.
Now, you said you had 5 siblings, if I remember. So 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I got 2 more left.
It's good for you.
Inshallah.
MashaAllah. So you talked about your father, but that's not the only father figure in your family that became Muslim.
No, well, I mean, this is something that I know we'll probably talk about in a bit, but my great-grandfather, I mean, I found out recently that he was Muslim. His name was Suleiman as well. I just wanted to mention quickly, just in terms of my story and the things that happened, because there were some really positive things, and I mentioned there were some struggles as well. But I went to college, so I decided I want to go to college. I want to, you know, educate myself, and I want to learn, and I want to get, you know, a good job. I didn't leave school with any good grades, you see. I used to work really hard at school. I was really clever. I'm not just saying that, but I felt that school kind of held me back. So I thought, look, I need to go to college. And I remember in college, there was a Pakistani brother. Now, in the early days, this is in the early days when I'd just become Muslim, yeah? I kept it a secret from people that didn't know me. So there were people that knew me who I told that I'm Muslim, but there were some people I kind of kept it a secret that I was Muslim. And I suppose the reason why is because there were some negativity that I had received. I told you when I mentioned when I asked friends about Islam, and they're like, what's it got to do with you? So I think some of that still did affect me. So I remember being in college.
Just how common was it for people becoming, you know, taking the Shahada, becoming Muslim at that time? Because obviously now we see it, and we see a lot of, you know, English reverts, we see a lot of black reverts. How common was it back then? I
didn't hear of a lot. I mean, this is 1996. Yeah, so I don't know what year you was born. I won't ask you, don't worry. But yeah, I can't remember it being quite common. But I do remember that I did keep it secret from a few people. who I didn't know. So people that I knew, I told them, but people that I didn't know. So when I went to college, I did an access course at college. The people on my course, and there were some people that were Muslim, they didn't know I was Muslim. They obviously saw my name, Simon Jones. They didn't know I was Muslim. And there was one guy on my course, and this is some advice, I suppose, for Muslims out there, who I was really impressed with how he treated me and spoke to me. I think there was a time when I was on the computer, and I never really used computers before. I mean, everyone uses laptops and computers now, but I never used computers before.
Phones,
you know, when I was at school, you had to, write your essay or whatever it was and hand it in. But, when I was at college, everyone was moving over to everything being typed. And he came over to me, and he didn't even know me. This is the first day. He introduced himself, and he said, if you need any help with anything at all, anything, I'm here for you, no matter what it is. And I thought, wow, this guy doesn't even know me at all. He doesn't know I'm Muslim, so he's not saying it because he thinks I'm Muslim, but he's willing to offer me help. And I never had that from anyone before. So I was really impressed by this guy, really impressed. And I said, I'm going to tell him, one day I'm going to tell him that I'm Muslim. And I remember in class, because at the time we were doing some stuff around Black history. It was a Black access course, and it covered sociology and economics, and there was history as well, a lot of Black history. And at the time, what used to happen, me and this Pakistani brother, we used to always be quite vocal when we were having discussions and articulating points, but we always seemed to say the same thing. It was like we were speaking from the same source. And he picked up on this, because he said to me afterwards when he found out I was Muslim, because I knew there was something about you. And it was whenever we used to have discussions in class, it always felt like me and him against the rest of the class. And it felt like there was just something that was pulling me to him and him to me. And like I said, when we used to have discussions in the class, we always used to be on the same page. And I remember when I did tell him I was Muslim, and he grabbed my hand and he goes, I knew it, because I just knew you were.
Did hug you?
Tell. Yeah, he hugged me, because I could tell you were. But it was nice that he offered that help and support to me, even when he didn't think I was Muslim and didn't know I was Muslim, but he was willing to offer whatever help I needed. And that, I always remember that. It stayed with me for a very long time.
There's certain brothers who have done deeds in your life.
Yeah.
That stick with you.
Yeah.
And all those are people that you want to make dua for.
Yeah.
And I just think that's important for the viewers, that we need to support each other. This brother supported you in whatever way he did possible, and that's where you are today. And you in this podcast, you're referring to him now.
I remember something else that was quite difficult for me. I know some people that I know that have become Muslim and their families not being as supportive as mine were. I know people that have had their family completely, disown them. I never had that. My family were very, very supportive to me. But one thing that I did find difficult for me was Eid. Okay. I used to get really, really, really upset on Eid, because I remember my first Eid, and I said to myself, "This is the true celebration for me. Forget about Christmas now." And this is a real true. And I was really excited. I really kind of pumped up, for my first Eid. Really excited. I got my best clothes on, and I went to the masjid, and everyone prayed, and everyone hugged each other, and then everyone just left and went home. And I remember I was standing outside the masjid thinking, what do I do now?
I feel like one of those songs on, when everybody.
I was thinking, what do I do? What do I do now?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I went home, and I'm like, okay. And it was like a normal day. And I got really upset, thinking, well, what happens on Eid? What am I supposed to do? Are we supposed to just have food?
Is this your first Eid though?
This is my first, yeah, this is my first. So at this time, it was just me and my sister. My dad had not become Muslim at this time. But every Eid after that was the same. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? And it really upset me. Like, really, really upset me. People like, Eid Mubarak, how was your Eid? And, I didn't want people to be upset, so...
You just made it.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, it was nice and good. But yeah, it really upset me. But I think there was a few people that must have kind of realised or understood, because I never said anything. And years later, I got invited to their homes.
Mashallah. And there's a lot more going on now for reverts and things on Eid than there used to be before.
Oh yeah, a lot more.
So inshallah, we're trying to organise a barbecue on Eid. This Eid coming up, so you're more than welcome to attend, mashallah.
Yes, inshallah.
I'm the one hosting the barbecue, so I don't expect great food.
Yes. So you're hosting, does that mean you're the chef as well?
Yeah, I'm the chef. I'm the guy doing this.
Okay.
Don't expect anything.
But yeah, so I think for me, that like I said, that was a big struggle. Eid, I really found that difficult. In terms of learning the prayer, pretty straightforward. I used to have books and tapes, and people used to teach me. A lot of the stuff initially was kind of self-taught. I think one of the biggest problems that I found in my time was that everyone was really excited, hugging you become Muslim, and then that's it. You don't see anybody. So I had to kind of learn how to do things myself.
If I was to say something, like even myself, in terms of my family in this country, it's very small. I don't have, it's just me, my mom, my dad, my brothers, and that was it. So even on Eid, I didn't really go to that many people's houses. The thing I used to do on Eid was catch up on sleep because of Ramadan.
Wow.
And I used to be just like, and everybody else used to go to each other's family's houses, being dressed, and I not that I understand what you're going through, but I can't empathise to a small amount what you're going through, because for me on Eid it was like, what does everybody do on Eid? What's so special? But I'm not trying to take any of the glory away from you. But let's talk about, your great grandfather now, I think, if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was really interesting because my uncle, and he's in America, and I was asking him some questions about the family. Now, my dad, when he came to England, it was in 1955, and my uncle, he looked after my grandma. So he spent a lot more time, especially in those later points of her life, with my grandma. So obviously
Is this in which country?
Oh yeah, sorry. So my mum is from Jamaica.
Okay.
My dad is from a place called Nevis, which is near St. Kitts and Antigua. It's a little island. Yeah,
so
in the Caribbean.
So mashallah, brother Ismaeel, now you become Muslim, your family starting to become Muslim, your father's become Muslim. You've done Eid, even though you were on your own, sadly. Now tell us about Umrah, because I know that you went to Umrah as well afterwards.
Yeah, I've done Umrah and Hajj, but my first Umrah, when I first became Muslim, I desperately wanted to go and do Hajj or Umrah, and it just used to be on my mind all the time. I want to do it, and I'd say to myself, inshallah, I'm going to do it, yeah. And it just never seemed to happen. It never seemed to materialize. And I know some people say that you've got to wait for Allah to call you to His house, to Mecca. But I don't know. It just didn't seem to happen. And the years were rolling by, and I'm saying to myself, "Come on, it's got to happen. I need to do it." And I remember saying to myself, and remember when I told you I had like a light bulb moment when I became.
I'm thinking through portals right now. But,
I said I had a light bulb moment when I was struggling to become Muslim because I wasn't getting any help from
I remember
friends that I knew.
When you started to make dua.
And I said I need to ask Allah. So I had this light bulb moment again, and I said to myself, I need to make like a real intention that I'm gonna do this, because I'm saying inshallah I'm gonna do it, and then it's not materializing. So I remember saying to myself, inshallah, this year, I mean I can't remember the year at the time, it was, but I said this year I'm definitely gonna go and do Umrah, inshallah. And I believed it in my heart that. And you know what the strangest thing was? I've had opportunities to do Umrah beforehand. I've had the finances there, I've had time off work, and quite a lot of other different things happening. And this time it felt like it's never going to happen because finances weren't that clever. I was working, and I thought, yeah, this is actually going to be quite a challenge. But something inside me said, if Allah wants me to go, I will go. And I'm going to do everything in my power to go. So I made that intention. I prayed istikhara, and I went that same year. I went and I was amazed. So it was a group of us. We went out.
Was this like a Revert group or yours? Just a mixed group?
I think there was there were two other reverts. In total, our party that went, there must have been about 12 of us, I think. But out of the 12, 3 were reverts.
Okay. And just for the benefit of the audience, was this when they had the ramps?
No, this I think this is going back to like 2006.
So when the stones, it was still up.
Yeah,
so
2005, 6, something like that. I think it might have even been a bit earlier. Yeah, so it was a while ago.
Before the Zamzam Tower, the big clock.
Yeah, I don't think that was there when I went. When I first went, yeah. And I remember when we got there, when we actually got to Mecca, it was strange driving in. I was really puzzled and shocked actually. I remember we was on like some kind of a minibus type thing. And I'm looking around. This is before we actually got into Mecca. But the land around just seems so like barren. Like really barren. Like it's just like there's like nothing there, just like really barren, harsh land. And in my mind I'm thinking to myself, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose this place of all places when it's just so, when I was driving in I was like, I don't know, I think in my naivety I was expecting like sand dunes and date palms and camels walking along.
We made a video recently about Makkah in the Bible, and one of the words for Makkah in the Quran which is used is Inna awla baytin wudi'a lin-nasi lalladhi bi Bakkata mubarakun hudan lil-alamin, and which basically means that really Allah created His first house and He called it Bakka.
Yeah.
So the word Bakka, we found out that Bakka has two translations. One is that Bakka means a place of gathering.
Right.
And the other place is a place of drought.
Wow.
So when you go to Mecca for the first time, you're traveling, you see this place, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a drought place, it's a place of desert.
So that shocked me, and I think after that, obviously doing a lot more kind of research and learning, it kind of made sense. I mean, I suppose back in the time when you had like the Persian Empire and the Roman Empire, that is an area that they didn't even bother to try to go into and conquer, because for them they didn't feel like there was anything there to
no
conquer,
resources,
and it was quite a harsh land to travel into and kind of wage a war upon. So that kind of made sense. Also, it made sense to me because the Arabs have been given a beautiful gift of isnad, of being able to the way things have been transmitted.
Absolutely,
yeah, is something which has always been there amongst them, having the ability to pass down this information. And we know how obviously the Quran was preserved and hadiths and stuff like that, so it made sense for it to happen in those lands. So yeah, I remember coming in at the time and I was kind of confused, thinking, wow, is this Mecca? Anyway, we went to the hotel, we dropped our bags, quickly washed, obviously we was in ihram and everything already. I remember we were walking down, I'm looking at the buildings, thinking, where's the Kaaba? Expected to kind of see it. Obviously, I had to wait. We walked in through one of the entrances, and a friend that was with me, he's a revert as well, but he'd been before, and he said to me, if you want, keep your head down, and I'll guide you in, and then when you buy the Kaaba, you can look up and see it for the first time. I says, yeah, actually, good idea. So me and the other revert was with this other revert who had already been before, and we were walking with our heads down, just looking at the ground. And I think before I did Umrah, I used to get quite emotional thinking about seeing the Kaaba for the first time. Really emotional, just thinking about it. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I bet I'm going to start crying. I bet I'm going to get emotional and all the rest, because, this is the land where our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but not just him, obviously Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismaeel alayhi salam, and the Sahaba. You read the stories and you hear about the stories, but to actually physically be there where they walked, it's just mind blowing for me. So when I used to think about it, I would get emotional. So as I'm walking to the Kaaba and my head's down, I'm thinking, wow, I'm going to start crying or something like that's going to happen. Anyway, we're walking. And all of a sudden, he said, right, we're here. You can look up now. And I remember just pausing and I didn't want to look up. I was just really like, I don't know, felt quite anxious. But I did. And I looked up and it was the most, I'm getting tingles just talking about it now. It was one of the most beautifulest things that I have ever seen, the Kaaba. And what was strange for me anyway, I couldn't take my eyes off it. I'm just looking at it like I was in a trance, like, and I didn't know what to say. No words came out. But what was also strange, I wasn't crying. And I thought, I'm going to just start blubbering and crying. But I weren't. I was looking at the Kaaba, just my eyes like fixated on it. And I literally couldn't look around or look away. I'm just staring at it. It was bigger than I thought as well. I mean, you see pictures of it, you see it on the videos, and I knew it was going to be big, but it was bigger than I thought. I'm like, wow, this is just huge. And the cloth, the black cloth, just felt like it was the blackest black I've ever seen. It just looked beautiful. And I remember just staring at it, and eventually one of the group said, right, we need to do Umrah now. So I like kind of came out of this trance and started doing the tawaf. But as I'm doing the tawaf, I wasn't concentrating on what I was doing. I'm just staring at the Kaaba. I still couldn't take my eyes off it. I'm just like fixated. And I remember doing, I don't know if it was the first one or if it was the second one, and I said to myself, you know, in fact, let me go back a step. When I looked up at the Kaaba and I saw it, I told you I didn't cry, and I thought I would. But my friend, my brother, the other Revert, was blubbering, crying, proper crying. And I was thinking, is there something wrong with me? Why am I not crying? Because all them times when I dreamed about it in my head, I always saw myself crying. Why am I not crying? Anyway, when we started doing the tawaf, I remember still fixated and like staring at the Kaaba, and I couldn't take my eyes off it. I could not take my eyes off it, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I can't do this. I've got to concentrate on my tawaf, so I'm gonna have to take my eyes away from the Kaaba and just focus on what I'm supposed to do. And as soon as I took my eyes off the Kaaba and looked down away, I started crying. I could not stop. I was just blubbering, just crying. And I remember after I'd done the Umrah, I think the prayer time, I was sat, and I remember this guy. He was a black brother. I think he was from Birmingham by his accent, but he was like an angel. Yeah, if he's out there, he probably will never remember me, but he was sat next to me, and he must have known it was probably my first time, and he must have known I was a convert. I was blubbering away, crying, and he just like comforted me. It's like he was there right at the right time. He just comforted me, and I remember he gave me some atta. It looked like a pen. It was like in a little spray thing. He gave me some atta, beautiful atta. Then I didn't see him after that, but yeah, he was really nice. But that was really, I remember that clearly.
I remember my first time looking at the Kaaba as well, and sort of similar experience as you, because when you see the Kaaba for the first time, I did the same thing as you did. Look down, not looked up, and then you see the Kaaba for the first time and you get fixated. It doesn't look real. I don't know if you ever just, like, sometimes I've been Umrah like 2-3 times now, and in the past I've just sat on the top floor of the Kaaba.
Beautiful.
And I've just sat there just looking at the Kaaba.
Memorize it.
And the amazing thing is that you get reward for just looking at the Kaaba.
MashaAllah.
Obviously people are getting, most people are the ones who doing tawaf, but even looking at the Kaaba you think, I'm getting reward for just looking at something so beautiful. And I'm actually lucky enough that a couple of years ago I went to Glasgow for a talk, and they were auctioning there's a Qari Saad Nomani, he's a famous guy from Medina. They were auctioning off the kiswa of the cloth of the Kaaba.
Wow.
Because he got given it as a gift, because he's obviously a famous Qari from Medina. So they auctioned it off. So I have a piece of the Kaaba
Is it? Mashallah.
at home. So
Wow.
so my intention, I've moved. My intention is inshallah to frame it and to put it. I know maybe I shouldn't frame this. People might be saying, you know, I shouldn't be venerating the cloth, but the cloth has got such a smell.
Mashallah.
You know, as soon as I open the packet, it's in a packet at home, and you can just smell it.
Mashallah.
It's beautiful, and the money went to charity. So I thought, you know what, why not just get a cloth at Kaaba? So it's unbelievable. I know what you mean.
There was something else that stood out. I mean, there was lots of things that stood out, but there was one other thing that I remember kind of stood out on that first trip, and it happened again on a second trip. And this isn't something that I tend to kind of share with a lot of people, because I kind of mentioned earlier that I do like to consider myself to be quite rational. Yeah. And if somebody said that, you know, this is how something is, I'm like, well, prove it, show me. Yeah, if somebody else told me the story, I'd be like, oh, okay, can I take it with a pinch of salt? But this is something that truly did happen to me. So I remember we went to Medina now. And in Medina, as you know, same as Mecca, after every prayer, after every salah, there's a janazah.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's a great reward to follow the janazah. So I remember going to Jannat al-Baqi. Obviously, the graveyard's right next to the masjid. And I remember on this one particular day, the entrance before you go in, there was an area that was kind of like, it looked like it was kind of sectioned off. I don't know if you've seen it. It was on your right hand side.
Jannat al-Baqi, yeah.
Because you can walk in and you can walk through. Obviously, you've got all the areas where people are buried, but there's one bit looked like it were kind of sectioned off. Near the door, yeah. And I could smell beautiful smell coming from that vicinity, right? Like the best attar that I could think of. Really nice smell. I didn't think anything of it. I was amazed by it. I was like, but I thought everyone can smell this. Yes, don't know what it was. If they chucked something on the ground, I don't know. Beautiful smell. Anyway, I called over some people that was in our group, and I said, "Can you smell that smell?" They were like, "No, can't smell anything." I goes, "Come on, don't mess about. It's beautiful. It's so strong. It's there in the air. No, can't smell anything." So I'm thinking, you know, what's happening here? How come I can just smell it? Luckily for me, I knew I wasn't going mad. The other Revert that was with me, he could also smell it as well. So what I did, I called him over, but I didn't say anything. Didn't say anything at all. I said, "Oh, come here a minute." As soon as he came over, he goes, "Whoa." He goes, "What's that?" I goes, "What's what?" He goes, "That smell." I goes, "Mashallah, you can smell it as well." He goes, "Yeah." I goes, "No one else can smell it." So that was really strange. But fast forward to 2010. Yeah, 2010. I did Umrah and I did during Ramadan. I did Hajj the same year as well.
Oh,
yeah. So I did Umrah, but I did it for my dad because my dad passed away. And I wanted to do Umrah for him in Ramadan, so I did that. And we was in Medina again, but this time it was just two of us. So it was just me and this one other brother. We'd gone over, and it was night time, and apparently they were doing like a private burial, so they weren't letting people in because it was this family. I don't know who it were, but there was a guard, and he said, "Look, no one's allowed in." And I could see right far down at the other end there was like a little light, so some kind of a torch or lantern or something where they must have been gathered, and they were obviously getting ready to bury the body. So my friend, he speaks Arabic, so he starts speaking to the guard, and he says, "Oh, this person," pointing to me, he's new to Islam, he's a new convert. Obviously at that time I wasn't new to Islam, I've been Muslim a long time, but he just wanted to kind of explain to the guy that, look, he's reverted to Islam. So God got really happy, and he goes, "Yo, coming in," and he let us go in. So he let us go through. So we're walking down, and it's dark, yeah, really dark. We're walking down, but I can see right at the other end that they've got where the burial's taking place. So I'm walking down, and I'm in front of my friend. And if you've been before, have you ever been before?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're walking through different paths and stuff, and I'm walking. And I smell, and it was different, this smell, to the other one, but it was beautiful as well. I'm walking and I smell the most amazing fragrance, right? Coming from this one area. And this particular grave, it like had, it was big, so it had stones around it, So normally you'll see like a stone sticking out of the.
It was in the middle.
It was kind of in the middle.
Yeah,
it was towards the left.
I think I know.
But it had stones around it. So I knew that somebody's important there.
Yeah.
I knew it, right? But I could smell the smell first. Beautiful smell. And what I did, same as last time, I called my friend because I wanted to see could he smell it, but I didn't tell him. I didn't say anything that I could smell anything. I just said, look, just come here a minute. And as soon as he came over, this was a different friend, obviously. As soon as he came over, he was like, whoa, what's that? You can smell it as well. He goes, that's beautiful. I goes, look, I think it's coming from here, but I don't know who's here. I don't know who's even buried here. But anyway, we carried on going, and we obviously we was there for the janazah and stuff. But I remember when I got back, and somebody gave me a book as a gift because I was going to do Hajj. Yeah, so it was only a few months after I was off to do Hajj, and they gave me a book as a gift. And in this book, I've still got this book at home. You probably won't be able to find this nowadays, but in this book there was like a map.
Is it FCB the lab or the little black ones?
It was quite big. It wasn't little, yeah.
Okay.
But there was a map of the graveyard, and according to that map, I mean, I don't know how true it was, but according to that map, that grave that I stopped by was Uthman.
Uthman, it's the big one in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. And then I got married in 2010, and then obviously, like I said, I did Umrah right before I got married. Came back, got married. Then me and my wife, we did Hajj together, and that was an amazing experience. Because do you know the thing about Umrah? If you've ever done Umrah and not done Hajj, I think I'd done a few Umrahs at this point, because that wasn't my. I think I'd done a few, and I felt naively that I know everything. I've been to Mecca, I've been to Medina, I know what to expect, I know what to do. So Hajj, no, it's going to be a breeze, no problem. Hajj, yeah. And I remember when I did Hajj, wow, it was like life changing. Nothing could prepare me for what happened in Hajj, and it was completely different to my Umrah experience. It was, yeah.
So Hajj is so much more different. There's so much more traveling. It's so much more. I'd say it's much harder.
Of course, yeah.
Because, for example, I remember when I went to Hajj for the first time, and I've only been Hajj once. So I had a room with me, my brother, and my mum, and we got to. My brother's done Hajj before, and my mum had done Hajj before. So we got to this hotel, and they were like, "We don't have a room for you guys, even though we paid extra for a room extra." Like, what are you doing? We paid for this. They go, "Oh, sorry, brother. This is Hajj. You have to accept difficulties." You're just like, just because you're, unorganized,
yeah.
We have to accept your difficulties. So, okay, and then they said, "We'll get your mum in this room with some other sisters. Me and my brother will sort your room out." So what they did was they took us to like a kitchen. They have some mattresses on the floor.
Wow.
And they're like, "Do you mind sleeping here?" And I'm like, sleeping on the floor behind the kitchen on a mattress, and I'm like, "Oh, brother, it's Hajj, you have to make it difficulty. No, because you paid like a lot of money, you expect certain sort of standards." So, for me, in terms of that sense, I remembered the Hajj is so much harder.
Yeah.
People are just much more difficult. You've been traveling. You're stressful. You paid a lot more money. You want to get it done right, and there's all these other like interferences that, again, then you're trying to keep your patience and it says, "Inna Allah ma'as-sabirin." Allah is with those who are patient. So I guess you get tested a lot on Hajj. I think, especially I did.
Yeah.
But the Hajj itself is amazing. I think the best time I had in Hajj was when we were in Mina. I loved Mina, the camps.
Yeah.
Just walking around, and you walk from one camp to another camp. You're in the African camp, and then you go to the Indonesian camp. It's like in the Indonesian camp, everyone's cooking barbecues, and
we slept on the mountain with my wife
that
first night. Only because, like you tests, I mean, I could be here all day telling you some of the tests that we faced. Same as you in terms of the accommodation as well. But when we got there, because we walked to Mina as well. Some people jumping in coaches and stuff, but we walked. But when we got there wasn't a bed in the tent for my wife in her tent that she was with the women, and they were counting them, saying, "Oh, there's got to be one for her because we allocated one for everyone." I was fine in my tent with the brothers, but she didn't have one, and nobody would own up to say, because what they'd done is they had a rule that if you had a child, you have to purchase a bed for the child as well.
Okay.
And there's one woman, she had a child, but she didn't purchase the bed, but she
okay.
put her child on the bed. So when they were counting, they were saying, look, there's no more beds. So, and this is, we just walked all that way. Did you walk? Did the walk from minute to?
My excuse, I had my mum with me.
Is it? Okay, that's a good excuse. A good excuse. So we walked, it's obviously a hot day, tiring, and we walked, and they said, look, there's no bed, and we just wanted to lay our head down. So I said, come with me. To my wife, come on, let's go. And I could see some of the mountains, and we literally climbed up, and we put a blanket down, and we just sat on top of this mountain. We were just looking at all the tents. We spent the whole night there. It was really nice. And in the morning, people were like, where did you go? You know, we were worried about you. And yeah, but it was good. She did end up getting a bed. The woman did own up and said, my son's on it. And the organizer said, well, you should have paid for your son, so that's her bed. You need to give it. So,
MashaAllah. I think we're actually coming towards the end of our podcast, but in terms of Ismaeel yourself, so you're starting a YouTube page, are you, as well?
Yeah, I'm looking to do a blog and a YouTube page. I've learned a lot of stuff over the years, but in particularly after my dad passed away, I started to look into and research my ancestry. And I just want to help other people who are out there that might want to do something similar. So if anybody wants any further information, it's still in the early stages, but they can email me at info@newrootslegacy.com.
info@newrootslegacy.com. So hopefully we'll put a link or a description. I don't know, I'm putting down, I always want to do this, inshallah, in the link below. But yeah, we'll put a description down there, so everyone who wants to follow your story can follow your story, and inshallah what we'll also do is invite you again and to talk about your journey in terms of tracing back your ancestry, and I think it's something that I want to listen from you as well, inshallah. So we'll do that as well in the future. So inshallah, thank you for coming. Thank you for being our first guest.
Yeah.
And inshallah you'll come again, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.